Hello once again, it's Mr. Pete, your YouTube shop teacher. And with this video, I'm beginning a series of 3 or 4, I'm not sure how many yet. And the subject will be my collection or selection here of precision sensitive drill presses. So I'm going to start out here with explaining to you what a sensitive drill press is compared to just a regular drill press or a larger drill press. Now that's a term that isn't used a whole lot anymore, and it is used more with these smaller drill presses than it is the standalone Walker, Turner, Delta, or whatever it is, but at one time they were all considered sensitive drill presses as well. So let's step over to the bench and I'm going to show you the definition in some older textbooks, and then we'll take a walk around here, show you all my drill presses. I have a lot of them, but I do have 5 or 6 sensitive, smaller sensitive ones like here. So let's begin. In this textbook from 1973, there is a picture and a discussion of a sensitive drill press. Now that's a little South Bend, and if you look right here, you're going to see the word sensitive. Now what does that mean, sensitive? This is my Walker Turner 15-inch drill press, and it is considered to be a sensitive drill press. I have it running right now, and what that means is that with a 16th inch or smaller drill bit in there, you have somewhat of a sensitivity or a feedback for how it's drilling. In other words, I can feel it drilling so that I do not break the drill. Now if you get onto a larger drill press, you will not have that feeling, and it is very easy to break a drill. Now here's an example of a much larger drill press, and if you attempted to drill a 1/16 hole, you would have no feeling whatsoever. Furthermore, this drill press would not run at high enough speed. You would break those little drill bits almost instantly. However, if you did have a 1-inch or a 1.5-inch drill in the spindle, you probably could feel it cut. And here's another example. This is called a radial drill press. You've seen Keith Rucker and others use them. Very large. It is not meant for drilling small holes. It is meant for large holes on large work. Again, if you put a tiny bit in there, such as a 16th, I'm sure you would break it instantly. I'm back at the Walker Turner, and a moment ago I drilled a 1/16 hole, and these chucks, and it depends on what chuck you're using, it tells right on the side of the chuck what the capacity is. And in this particular one, it says it has a range from anywhere to 0 up to 1/2 inch. But this is a number 71 drill. And I have tightened the chuck as tight as it will go, and you can see they lied. That size drill cannot be held in a chuck like this. Furthermore, this machine, as I said before, does not run at a high enough speed, even if it's 3,000 or 4,000 RPM. Permit me, if you will, to talk about smaller drills. And here's a standard drill stand from 1/16 to 1/2. You're all used to that. But when we get into number drills, there are 80 number drills. Well, in this drill index here, they really, even though there's 4 sets of them, the very smallest one shown here would be a number 60. If I can zoom in with, yeah, it's a number 60, which is pretty small. But where are the other 20, clear to number 80? Well, I've got some of those too, and maybe you would do as well. So needless to say, you would very seldom need small drills unless you're doing model work or precision work or something like that. So they did not include the smaller 20 of these. So here is the little drill stand, and you can buy these in any industrial catalog. I believe it's a Hewitt, no, it's a PTD. And we go here from number 59, which I'm touching, clear to an 80, which is the very smallest one there. And you'll have to admit that's probably tinier than anything you have, and you could break that like a matchstick. And here's another set of them. I do not like this plastic container, but nevertheless, there are the 4 smaller ones, and I've had these forever, but someone wrapped tape around those, maybe from the factory, so that they wouldn't fall out or even break as you pick them up, if you pick them up like this. What this country needs is a good 9-cent cigar. Now, I've sold most of my tiny drills over Pete Bay over a period of time, but I still do have some left here, and in the smaller sizes here, sometimes, and these were given to me by Doug, you can see how small some of those drills are, and they were very sensible here in making them short rather than a little bit longer, but you can imagine how easy it would be to break one of these. And they are often used in making circuit boards. These are metric. You know, I'm always saving things for just the right job, and I'm 81 years old. Well, here's a tube, and I don't know how many are in there, but these are number 71 drills, and there's at least a dozen of them, so I intend to sacrifice some of these, but I just broke it in half, so that gives you an idea of their delicacy. Well, a delicacy is oysters or something like that, but these are delicate. Well, I am now out in Studio G, and you know that I have two more sensitive drill presses right here. This is a Duro. This is one of my go-tos because it has a reverse on it. I really like this. And here's this Craftsman that I picked up rather recently, and actually I gave this to my grandson Jordan, but he hasn't picked it up yet. But both of these have half-inch chucks and would do very well down to 1/16. By the way, as long as I'm out in Studio G, the Franken mill is sitting right here, and I have a video coming up very soon in regards to the measuring system on this older machine consisting of trays and rods. And just yesterday in the mail I received a beautiful set of Lufkin rods, measuring rods, along with a beautiful Lufkin micrometer head. So watch for that video. And finally, in my collection of drill presses, why am I collecting drill presses? But anyway, very recently I purchased this Walker Turner sensitive drill press. I know it's an antique, and there's a video coming up on this machine as well. So watch for it, even though it is an antique. And actually, I do not consider this to be a precision drill. It's just too old and rickety, and it has a cheap chuck on it. Well, now I've moved over to the Bridgeport mill, and we certainly wouldn't consider this a sensitive drill either. And in fact, I took out the big chuck. I think that's 5/8, and I have a half-inch chuck, and this is the 3/8 chuck, which it says will go down to 0 because I want to drill this little piece of brass. But even though I've tightened this chuck with the key, the number 71 doesn't even begin to hold. So what I'm going to do is switch from American to German, because here's an Albrecht chuck that truly does go down to 0. So let me put this in real quickly, and we'll snap that, and then we're done talking about the heavier presses. Okay, the Germans didn't lie to me. This keyless Albrecht chuck truly holds a number 71, and this is an expensive chuck. Again, a number 71. This is brass, and I'm not running it nearly fast enough because I don't want to go to the effort of changing the speed, nor does this machine even go fast enough, because it ought to be about 10,000 RPM, and I suppose I'm at about 1,700 here. This is brass, so let me drill that hole. Did you see the drill bend and flex? And then I would back off because I had no tactile feeling of it drilling at all. I mean, 0. Now I'm going to do it again and intentionally break it. And I certainly would have broken it last time if this was steel instead of nice soft brass. So let me zoom in on it a bit, if you will. Now that didn't take much, did it? And I had absolutely no feeling for that. I did hear a little bit of a snap. It served no other purpose than to make a point, and I think you've all been through that in your machine shop life. Is everybody happy? I absolutely could not make a video like this without the help of all of you viewers out there, because in fact, this one and this one were donated to me. The others I bought at auctions over a period of years, and I must again confess to not using these very often, but they are awesome. So let me start talking about each one individually, and I'll try not to say too much because there is a lot to cover here, and I'd like to show you some of the prices in catalogs or on the internet in regards to how expensive these machines are. And I'm going to tell you right now, this sounds like a lecture, there is no way that 95% of you people could afford to buy this or this new or even this one. And that, of course, is the Unimat, and it's in the drilling position, and this is the first time that I've had it in that position since I've owned it. Well, I realize this is the part you have been waiting for, so I'm going to talk about these machines. I'm not going to drill any holes. That will be in the following video because it's already getting too long. I know I'm a bit loquacious, but that's just the nature of it. So let's go through these one at a time. But first, let me fire them all up. I have an electrician's nightmare back there with 5 machines plugged into one multiplex, whatever it is, and several of these machines are not grounded. They're so old. This one and one other one is not grounded, but I am fearless. I love the smell of ozone in the morning. Okay, all 5 of them are running, and I'm behind the camera, and boy, can I smell that ozone, and I must confess to liking it. One of them makes a lot of noise. I think that possibly the bearings in this one are going, and that one is an antique. You saw me buy that recently, and I do intend to possibly restore it if there is any interest. Everyone has a switch in a different place, so it's quite a nightmare trying to turn them all on or off. As you know, this machine was donated for the good of the cause by one Mr. Bill Kirkland. Thanks again, Bill, for that. Now, if you take a look at the chuck, and that came with this lathe. Actually, this is a lathe, a multi-purpose lathe, and that's a little German chuck, and it truly does say from 0 to how many millimeters I got, I forgot, 5 millimeter or something, but I just removed the 16th drill momentarily ago, if there is such a phrase, and I put in the number 71, and it truly does hold that small drill. And does it run through? Seems to. So you'll be seeing more of this later, and I will be drilling a hole, in the next video, if you watch that. But we can't confuse this drill chuck with the more precision Albrechts, which I have on some of the other machines here. So I'm going to talk about these expensive little Albrecht chucks here as well. Now, how much does this machine cost? I really do not know at the present time because they no longer make them, but even on the used market, I believe they're in the $800 range. And since I haven't really used this machine yet, I really do not know how effective it is as a drill press because I always have my doubts about multi-purpose machines. One thing that I did note on this press that it has a very short stroke of, it looks like only about an inch. So that is a limiting factor, but maybe not so when we are actually drilling or making or manufacturing very small pieces and you're certainly not going to do any deep hole drilling with small drills. You are looking at my 2 Cameron drill presses. The one on the left has an Albrecht chuck which has a 1/16 capacity. The one on the right is the larger Albrecht chuck that has a 1/8 capacity. Now you will not believe the price on these chucks, so let's start out by talking about the smaller one, which is this one. And I'm going to show you the prices on the Granger website, but it'll be about the same from any industrial supplier. Okay, on the Granger website, this is the larger of the 2. This is the one with the 1/8 inch capacity, and notice the price here is $800.85. And also in the Granger's catalog, this is the smaller one, 1/16 capacity, and you can have that for only $950. Put it on your wish list. Okay, let's talk a little bit about these Cameron micro drill presses, and I have two of them. Let's call this one number 1, appropriately marked, and this is number 2. There's not a whole lot of difference between the two, but there are some. I'm sure they're probably 10 years apart or so. And again, these are expensive machines if you look at the price sheet that I have shown you or will show you. To start with, let me read the two labels here from Cameron. They are really quite different from one another, but on number 1 here, this is model 164. Now the motors are about 15,000 RPM, but we have step pulleys up here, and you can see that the speeds are 30,000, 15,000, which is a 1-to-1 ratio, and 7,500 RPM. And it's called a micro drill, not a sensitive. Number 2 is just a little bit different, and the model number is different as well, and this one's called 164D7, and just everything on the label here refers to lubrication instructions rather than the cutting speed of the drill or the spindle. Let's take a look at the motor label on number 1. And these are Cameron motors, so either they made their own or they're custom made for them with their label. And that's an AC/DC series motor, 1/15 of a horsepower, 15,000 RPM, made in California. And you will note that on both presses, the belt tension is with lifting the motor, so it's gravity. Very easy to change the belts by relaxing the pressure and simply moving from one step to the other. And this one was missing the dial indicator when I bought it. And the switch is right here, just a simple toggle switch. And we're back to number 2 and the wife's toothbrush to clean off the label a little bit. I did notice that her teeth were black yesterday when I kissed her. But the label on here just says Cameron model and the series and so on. Does it tell the RPM? I don't think so. And the switch for model 2 here is in a very obscure position. You better remember where it's at, or you'll have trouble finding it. Notice that the brushes can easily be replaced without taking the motor apart, and it's just the opposite on this one, and that's maybe why they changed the design. I don't think I said this yet, but these drill presses are almost entirely aluminum except for the column, which is hollow. That's why they only weigh 6 or 7 pounds. So we have an aluminum table, easily adjusted up and down, could use a little oil, and an aluminum base, as well as an aluminum head and guard and so on. And looking at number 1 from the top, you can see that there's really only one oiler, a Gitz oiler right here. I don't know why they don't have one over here on the spring side. This is the spring to retract it, but obviously one would oil it, just a drop of oil, wherever there are moving parts. Just makes common sense to take care of your equipment, and both of these, I must confess, need a real good cleaning, and this motor appears to be sealed. I see no provision for lubricating. The belts are readily available, and someone sent me several of them a couple years ago, so I do have spares. I think they're urethane, but they would last a long time. I think I failed to show you that the motor can be locked in the downward position just by turning in the knurled knob. From time to time when I'm making a video such as this, I hear from the company. Somebody in the company is watching this. So if anyone from Cameron that works there or has worked there and wants to leave a comment, please do so. I find that very interesting, and that's how I made the hookup with the wonderful Mitutoyo company recently. Watch for those videos. Am I telling you more than you want to know about this little drill press? But anyway, here is a depth stop, that knurled knob. These need to be bolted to the bench. They're so lightweight. So that's the depth stop. And by the way, this machine needs a good cleaning. Can you see that it is not retracting properly? So I'll do that. I should have done it ahead of time, but sometimes I don't notice things like that until I actually make the video. Also, I want to compare here these machines, Cameron machines, with the Do More, because this is pretty much a traditional drill press. That is, the quill lowers, the work is stationary. And of course, for different sizes, we can move the table, as already explained, and someone has woodpeckered this one in the traditional arc of shame. This is drill press number 2. Notice that there's a Gitz oiler right here and right here. Again, none on the other side, and 2 oilers for the motor. So these are not pre-lubricated. We got an oiler right here and one down here at the bottom, and they're right angle Gitz oilers, so you don't have to turn the thing upside down in order to lubricate it, so that is pretty awesome. And looking at it from the other side, I have no idea why this clamp is on there. I don't remember if I put it on or someone else did, but in this little cover here, of course, is the coil spring that is used to retract the entire head. You know what? I need to correct myself. We aren't just lowering the quill, we're lowering and raising the entire head of the drill press, and that is not typically the way it is done in larger drill presses, so I think I contradicted myself, or at least I'm correcting myself right now. And here's another neat feature. Should you have a stretched belt, although I don't think they stretched, or the wrong belt, there is an adjustment here. This set screw can be loosened and the entire motor moved in or out, and you can see the shaft of it right there, and there appears to be some little dimples. So on number 2 we have either a stop, which would be the knurled knob here, although right now I do not have it lowered, but we could use either the stop or the dial indicator for our depth. And it probably would be better to have an indicator that had a little longer stroke than what this one does. And the indicator can very easily be removed if one wants. And matter of fact, I did have it in storage. I got it out for this particular video, but notice the neat little die cast piece here. We have a hex right there that goes onto the hex shaft and can be tightened so we can raise and lower the indicator, and it is held in. So any indicator that is ASA or whatever the terminology is that has the same stem could be used. This one again has been damaged and is sticky. But it is marked Cameron. I doubt if they made their own. I'm sure it's made by one of the big companies. And it does have a lug on the bottom, or on the back, which is unnecessary. So when not using it, as you can see, very easily come off, can be taken off, and just use the traditional depth stop. So the square block that you see right here is actually the rack, and that's all. You can only see 2 teeth. So it's rack and pinion, as they all typically are, but again, the head moves up and down rather than just the quill. And that probably makes it a lot easier to manufacture, because I'm sure there are some very precision bearings here in the quill, and I hope I never have to service them. I like the fact that there are 3 handles here, like on a big drill press. I do not like the ones that just have a straight rod that goes through there. It's harder to position. Okay, now I'm at the Cameron website, and here's a little Model 214, similar to what I have. It might not be exactly, but notice it is $1,592, but that does include the torque compensating speed control. Why don't you buy a couple of them? Put that on your Christmas wish list instead of an Old Spice set. Please note that the newer models come with a belt guard, so that costs you an extra $100. Thank you, OSHA, but it is necessary. I'm not making fun of that in any way. We ought to have a guard, even though it's a 1/15 horsepower motor that will only clip your nails. Well, the video is way too long, but I do hope that you enjoyed it. Leave me a comment and a thumbs up if you did like it. It helps the channel. And this again is only part one of a 3 or 4 part video. I'm not sure yet how many, but be sure and stay tuned when available to watch part 2, where I actually put all of these 5 different micro drill presses to use. By use, I mean I'll just drill some holes with them, not a big deal, and a little more explanation of features if needed. And in number 3 and 4, I'm going to talk about a little adapter that you can use in a heavier drill press to do micro drilling or sensitive drilling with very small sizes. Do you do a lot of drilling in small sizes? If so, this is what you need. And you can find them on eBay. Don't even think about buying one new unless you've got deep pockets, a lot deeper than this old man. All right, I'll see you next time. Okay, here's just a little postscript to see if anyone is still listening. Did you notice anything different about me in this video? Did I seem wired or charged? Because when you're 81 years old, you don't have much energy, and it's really difficult to start a big project. And this was a rather big project because there was a lot of preparation for this. But are you aware that I had 2 or 3 cups of coffee, and that still didn't do the job, and I had to take 2 no-dose tablets? And I took a break here a half hour ago. I had so much energy. I rode my bike down across the river and up the steep hill and all around Kangley, and even though I was going 21 miles an hour, I wanted to get off the bike and run because I think I could have moved faster running. So the old skeletonized remains of Mr. Pete is saying, so long for now. And maybe for good, for that matter. Leave a comment. I tried to turn the camera on, but the action is over. As I started to move these machines around a little bit, I just had a huge spark right here, and the smoke came up and it's already gone. So that definitely needs attention. This is crazy what just happened here. Not only did I have an issue right here 4 minutes ago, but I went to plug in some of my auxiliary lighting, and as I did, I had a big flash come out of here, and luckily I was holding it by the plug rather than right here, and then I couldn't get the thing to work. Finally realized it tripped a breaker over in my service panel. So do not report me to the authorities, please, but I'm going to cut that off so that I don't forget to repair that at a later date. And by the way, this one was donated to me a long time ago by Sam Schublum, who still is in contact with me and gave me something very recently. He's a longtime supporter of the channel. Thank you, Sam. This Cameron dial indicator is a bit sluggish, even though I cleaned it up a little bit and lubricated it, so I may have to replace it with a Starrett. Not that I do that much accurate drilling to a certain depth. This is kind of overkill for most cases.